Pixels is a supposedly subpar suckfest that offended its target demographic and stole Adam Sandler's soul in the process, but in this cinematic court, it's innocent until proven guilty. Court is on session for a quarter-munching episode of Innocent Until Proven Guilty. After wrapping up the successful Movie Month event, I've decided to add film reviews as a semi-regular feature to IUPG, and it's fitting that I begin my reel-to-reel return with an offender so odious that I got requests for it long before I even considered tackling the celluloid medium on this series. Without further ado, let's cue the countdown on Adam Sandler Paycheck Project number 2112, aka Pixels. From the minds of Happy Madison Productions and Chris Columbus, the director of Home Alone, comes Pixels. Released to theaters on July 24th, 2015, Pixels kicks off with a prologue set in the summer of 1982 to the sweet tunage of Surrender by Cheap Trick. We're introduced to Cooper and Brenner, the latter of whom being quickly established as a gaming savant, and his skills are put to the test in a tournament that pits him against a formidable opponent named Fire Blaster. The two tiny titans square off in an intense round of Donkey Kong, but Brenner ultimately suffers a humiliating defeat at the hands of the boastful Fire Blaster. Cooper consoles his friend by reminding him of the bright future that lies ahead before an abrupt cut transitions to the same conversation being continued 30 plus years later by the now grown-up Brenner and Cooper, portrayed by Adam Sandler and Kevin James. The prologue with the child actors was enjoyable, but this is business as usual for these two jokers, and I haven't been a fan of this particular brand of comedy since the mid-90s. In fairness to the creators though, I'm gonna keep an open mind and hope that the retro gaming influence offsets my distaste for this tired shtick. The childhood chums turn bitter adults engage in banter typical of a Happy Madison production, where it's revealed that Sandler is now employed as a Nerd Brigade electronics installer and Kevin James somehow managed to become the President of the United States, but their juvenile ribbing session and Sandler's subsequent house call are fortunately cut short as an Air Force base in Guam is attacked by an evil alien force. President Kevin James calls in his buddy after viewing an aerial recording of the assault and observing that the invaders resemble the enemy ships from Galaga. The military brass scoff it off and Brenner is removed from the premises before reuniting with Ludlow, another pal from their youth played by Josh Gad, who shines a light on how this preposterous notion became a reality. Long story short, the tournament was filmed and included as part of a tape sent into space as a beacon for any possible life forms outside of our solar system, but the peaceful message was interpreted as a hostile warning and the ETs assimilated our pop culture and used it against us. I'm sure this is simple stuff for Hollywood, but I really appreciate the work that went into manipulating the archival footage of Ronald Reagan, Madonna, and the rest of the celebrities from that era, with the personal highlight being the appearance of Hall & Oates with altered dialogue recorded by the famous duo themselves. As someone who considers to be one of the best songs from the 80s, I'm almost willing to forgive 8 Crazy Nights for this. Almost. Brenner and Ludlow are treated seriously and brought in as consultants after a second attack in India. Brenner instructs the soldiers in the ways of classic gaming, but the rookies aren't ready for when the centipede strikes England, and an entertaining visual effects heavy montage ensues as the veteran joystick jockeys step in to save the day. The heroes briefly celebrate their victory before the next mission presents itself and a familiar face re-enters the picture. He may not be known for comedies, but Peter Dinklage absolutely crushes it, and I'm so glad this role didn't go to Schneider, Spade, or any of the other Sandler regulars. The presence of Dinklage and Gad actually makes me like Sandler and Kevin James, so that goes to show how great their performances are. Dinklage's character Fire Blaster excels at Pac-Man, so naturally the following cleverly executed sequence involves the protagonist playing the role of Inky, Blinky, and the rest of the ghosts via color-coordinated cars in an attempt to neutralize the legendary Namco mascot. In spite of Brenner's death-defying driving eliminating the gigantic beast, the arcaders are discharged from service after Fire Blaster repeats his tournament transgressions of using a cheat code to gain an unfair advantage, violating the rules and dooming the planet as a result. Disheartened but not discouraged, the group devises a plan to hitch a ride upon the alien vessel to fight back against the conquering overlords, while Ludlow and a redemption-seeking fire blaster remain on the surface to deal with the threat on her home turf. The scenes shared by Gad and Dinklage are a treat, and I love how Ludlow's crush on the fictional Lady Lisa hinted at earlier on comes into fruition here. It's nice to see the geek get the girl of his dreams for once, even if she isn't technically real. Meanwhile, Brenner has a crisis of confidence and faces his biggest challenge yet in the form of the game that caused him so much humiliation as a kid, but his spirits pick up after he learns the truth about what happened at the tournament and flings the hammer to claim his rightful title as the Donkey Kong Master and Savior for the human race. All's well that ends well. Brenner fulfills his destiny, Fire Blaster fulfills his threesome fantasies, and Ludlow, well, he winds up with Q-Bird. Creepiness aside, there were quite a few moments in this that I genuinely enjoyed, which is shocking since I can't stand modern day Adam Sandler. Is it possible that Pixels isn't as bad as everyone says, or have all the hours spent playing Action 52 fried my mind? Let's find out in the breakdown! Adam Sandler's career in recent years has been a train wreck, and Pixels is no exception to the rule. The concept is admittedly interesting, and the retro gaming references help add a nostalgic appeal, but the fact remains that this still has Sandler's stench all over it. He's still doing the tired old shtick that hasn't been funny in 20 years, only this time he's tainting truly talented actors such as Brian Cox and Sean Bean, which makes it a million times worse. Watching Pixels is the equivalent of eating ice cream laced with razor blades, and it deserves to be dumped in the garbage where it belongs. It's true that I'm not an Adam Sandler fan, and a part of me was dreading the idea of watching this, especially after hearing about how bad it is from all of my favorite YouTube critics, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that this is actually a decent little flick. Dinklage and Gad are hilarious and more than make up for Sandler's cliched routine, and the classic gaming and pop culture appearances, including the Duck Hunt Dog, Q*bert, Mario, and Max freaking Headroom, warm the heart of this 80s kid. Overall, Pixels is not the mess it's made out to be, not even close. There are some solid funny parts in this, and it's really saying something when a non-Adam Sandler fan found it to be a fun watch. Give it a go with an open mind, and there's a good chance you'll have a similar experience. In the case of Pixels, I rule that the verdict is innocent! Scott Pilgrim vs. the World will always be the quintessential video game themed movie, but Pixels is definitely worthy of being in the same ballpark. It can be dumb. Okay, it can occasionally be really dumb, and while I would never go as far as calling it brilliant, I will say that it can be smarter than you'd think anything starring Adam Sandler would ever be possible of, and I would totally recommend checking it out in the bargain bin if you get a chance. Anyway, now that I've cleared this domestic box office bomb of its crimes, I've got 2 Cygnus videos to prepare for the week ahead. Be sure to come back for that and to leave any suggestions for future trials in the comments below. But until then, court is now adjourned! Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, the boxes on the screen right now will lead to some more of my videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my avatar in the bottom right hand corner. Thanks again.